Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition, and today we're continuing our reading of Vibrational Medicine by Dr. Richard Gerber, MD, medical doctor. And this book was inspired by a quote. I'm paraphrasing, but it's a quote by Nikola Tesla, and he said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to know or understand energy, vibration, and frequency. So there's a whole world of non-physical dimension that we don't see with our naked eyes. And this book attempts to try to understand that. And we're getting into exciting times with big changes, especially in the health area. And I think it's good to start understanding the fundamentals from the non-physical perspective. So this is the inspiration for that. So thank you for joining us. And I hope you enjoy or you will enjoy reading it and learning more about it because I don't think we know enough. So it's important to learn about it. That's my opinion, anyways. Okay, so before we begin, if you like what we do here, consider checking out our other book clubs. We have the spiritual book clubs on Mondays and then financial book clubs on Wednesdays. And this particular book falls on the health books, which is on Wednesdays. And please consider checking out our YouTube channel. Go ahead and like and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff. And also sign up for our free monthly newsletter as well. Um, we have other things on our YouTube channel, not just the book clubs. We have podcasts and Akashic readings and things like that. So check it out. And we're, always thinking of new ways to keep keep you guys what is the word I want? Connected, I guess, in a community. If you have any books, if you have a book that you want to recommend for us to read, I will leave a link in the description box below as well. And it could be for a spiritual book, for health books, or for financial books. We love to hear from you and we will consider it. And if you want to support us further, you can buy me a coffee, leave a donation, or check out our merch section on our shop tab in our website. And I will leave all those links in the description box below as well. And I want to thank you for supporting us in whatever way you can. Uh, but the most important thing is your energy. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for being here with us. And lastly, if you are in the Los Angeles area or traveling, come see us in person in our healing center. We have a healing center that we use Nikola Tesla's technology. That was the scientist that I quoted earlier in the video. Uh, we use technologies based on his scalar wave research, which is scalar wave is in my opinion, is the non-physical dimension. Uh, I guess you can call it. Um, Anyways, we use technologies based on his research on the scalar wave research for healing, for holistic healing, for both domestic cats and dogs and humans. So please check it out. And we have all the information on our website about that, as well as other services that we provide as well. So come join us if you can. We'd love to meet you in person and get to know you. And yeah, and welcome to the community. So, this book is Vibrational Medicine, the number one handbook of subtle energy therapies, is the subtitle. And the book that we're using is the third edition. So, if you have a book, you could follow with us there. If not, you can follow with us here on camera. And I am going to move the camera in so we can read better. And this particular episode will be is chapter one, and this is part two. Let's see if this is good. I think this is good enough. Okay. All right, here we go. This is chapter one and part two. As above, so below, the holographic principle in nature. At a highly symbolic level, the holographic principle that, quote, every piece contains the whole, end quote, can be seen in the cellular structure of all living bodies. Scientific discoveries in the world of cellular biology have demonstrated that every cell contains a copy of the master DNA blueprint with enough information to make an entire human body from scratch. This realization is the basis for experiments in cloning living cells. To create a duplicate of a lower life form, such as a frog, cloning techniques are employed in which the DNA material from a fertilized frog's egg is removed and exchanged for the DNA material from an adult frog's intestinal cell. Because the instructions within each body cell contain the same library of information found in every other cell, it is possible to produce a completely identical frog without utilizing sexual reproduction. This is the kind of technologic virgin birth. Hmm. Kind of puts a spin on Mary's virgin birth of Jesus, isn't it? Interesting, eh? The potential of the genetic blueprint is expressed in an appropriately supportive environment, such as a fertilized egg. The fact that, and the rest is italicized by the author, every cell within the body contains the information to create an entire duplicate body mirrors the holographic principle whereby every piece contains the information of the whole. The holographic principle may also be of value in understanding the bioenergetic fields associated with the physical chemical structure of the human body. Science has come far in its understanding of the natural growth, development, and repair of living systems. Much of this understanding is an outgrowth of our sophisticated deciphering of the genetic code within the nucleus of the living cell. The nucleus is clearly a control code within the nucleus. Missed a line there. The nucleus is clearly a control center for the complex processes and interactions taking place within and between cells. Our understanding of the DNA containing chromosomes within the nucleus has furthered our knowledge of such phenomena as cellular replication, growth, and the differentiation of primitive embryonic cells into specialized cells that carry out specific functions within the body. However, our knowledge of DNA has been inadequate thus far to explain how differentiated cells in the developing human fetus find their way to the appropriate spatial locations where they will carry out their specialized functions. Suppose we trace the steps in the growth and development of a human being from the stage of the newly fertilized egg. At the time of conception, a sperm unites with an egg, thereby providing a stimulus for the entire growth process to begin. In uniting a sperm and an egg, a cell is produced that carries half the chromosomal content from the mother and half from the father. This genetic material will provide the information for the final expression of this new human being. The single cell begins to undergo a process of self-replication and soon is transformed into a tight little ball of many formless, undifferentiated cells. Somehow, these formless cells must take on the shape of a nerve, bone, muscle, and connective tissue cells and migrate to their appropriate positions to work together as a whole human body. To help fill in the missing biological information, suppose we make an analogy between a little league baseball team and the development of human cells. We wish to take a group of undifferentiated little children and form them into a cohesive functioning unit, a baseball team. Let us further suppose that these children are of school age, are able to read, and have limited attention spans. To teach these children how to play baseball, we first select a captain of the team who will assign appropriate roles to each player. The captain hands out a booklet entitled How to Play Baseball to all the team members. Because the children have limited attention spans, they are each given a book in which dark construction paper covers all the pages concerning information not directly relevant to their assignment. The first baseman receives a booklet with dark paper covering all but the pages on how to be a first baseman and so on for each of the players. This analogy relates to the developing human. This analogy relates to the developing human in the early stage of development. As with the Little League team, sorry, got a little distracted there. As with the Little League team, human development begins with a group of tiny, undifferentiated components. In this case, cells. Similar to the booklet on how to play baseball, given to all the would-be baseball players, each cell is endowed with a master library of how to build and maintain a human being. That's kind of funny title. This library is contained within the DNA assembled genetic code in the nucleus of each cell. The cell reads the genetic code by using a process known as transcription. During transcription, information from DNA is transcribed or copied onto an intermediary RNA molecule, which is then used to carefully assemble the various functional and structural proteins of the cell. The DNA is coated with specialized protein known as histones and non-histones that perform a function similar to the dark construction paper used in the baseball booklets. These unique proteins selectively block from transcription of the genetic code those portions that are not pertinent to the functioning of the particular cell in which that DNA text resides. For instance, a developing muscle cell has the construction paper equivalents covering all of the pages of its DNA manual, except those instructing how to be a muscle cell. This process is known as differentiation of cells. Excuse me. It is similar to an undifferentiated player being assigned a job or position to play. That cell or player now has very specific functions. Today's state-of-the-art knowledge of molecular biology and DNA fully explains how this process of differentiation occurs in the developing cells of the growing human embryo. DNA contains all of the information necessary to instruct each cell how to do its particular job, how to manufacture its proteins, etc. What DNA does not explain, however, is how these newly differentiated cells travel to their appropriate spatial locations in the developing baby's body. In order to understand how this process is likely to work, we must return to our baseball analogy. When we last left our Little League players, they had just gone home to read about their unique functions in playing a coherent and organized game of baseball. They have now become well versed in their respective functions and the rules of the game. However, there is still one missing ingredient before they can play. The missing ingredient or the missing element is a playing field and baseball diamond. In order to play baseball, the team must orient themselves in space on the playing field. The term field has been carefully chosen in this analogy because it is more than metaphorically represented in the case of the developing human being. It is highly likely that the spatial organization of the cells is ordered by a complex three-dimensional map of what the finished body is supposed to look like. This map or mold is the function of a bioenergetic field which accompanies the physical body. And the next sentence is italicized by the author. This field or etheric body is a holographic energy template that carries coded information for the spatial organization of the fetus as well as a roadmap for cellular repair in the event of damage to the developing organism. There is mounting scientific evidence, albeit unknown to the vast majority of scientists, to support the hypothesis of such a holographic energy body. And just a side note, another analogy you can use is the blueprint of a building, right? That's another analogy you could use. The scientific evidence, a search for the etheric body. The earliest evidence to support the existence of a holographic energy body is the work of a neuroanatomist, Harold S. Burr, at Yale University during the 1940s. Burr was studying the shape of energy fields around living plants and animals. Some of Burr's work involved the shape of electrical fields surrounding salamanders. He found that the salamanders possessed an energy field roughly shaped like the adult animal. He also discovered that this field contained an electrical axis, which was aligned with the brain and spinal cord. Burr wanted to find precisely when this electrical axis first originated in the animal's development. He began mapping the fields in progressively earlier stages of salamander embryogenesis. Burr discovered that, excuse me, Burr discovered that the electrical axis originated in the unfertilized egg, and that is italicized by the author. This discovery contradicted the conventional biological and genetic theory of his day. Now, here is a picture of the salamander. I'll move the camera out a little bit so you could see the whole thing. Oops. Out, not in. Okay, so this is diagram 4, surface electrical potential of a salamander. Note of central axis. So you got the positive polarity and negative polarity. So the positive polarity in the center of the salamander is how do I say it? Is correlated, I guess you can say, with the negative polarities of the legs, right? So the salamander has 4 legs, and you got 2 positive, I don't know what you call that, positive polarity, and then correlate it with the negative. And then the head is a positive sign, and the tail is a negative sign. So it kind of balances it out, doesn't it? Interesting, huh? Okay, let me move the camera back again. Okay. All right, continue. Here we go. Burr theorized that the electrical axis aligned with the nervous system of the adult salamander was synonymous with the axis present in the unfertilized egg. His research to support this theory involved a tagging procedure. Since amphibians like the salamander produce very large eggs, it was possible to use direct visual observation through a biomicroscope to label this electrical axis of the unfertilized salamander egg. Burr injected tiny drops of dark, indelible ink into the axial region of the egg, utilizing a micropipette technique. He discovered that the dark ink always became incorporated into the brain and spinal cord of the developing salamander. Burr also experimented with the electrical fields around tiny seedlings. According to his research, the electrical field around a sprout was not the shape of the original seed. Instead, the surrounding electrical field resembled the adult plant. Burr's data suggested that any developing organism was destined to follow a prescribed growth template, and that such a template was generated by the organism's individual electromagnetic field. Contemporary research has lent further credence to Burr's theories. on bioenergetic growth fields. There is also increasing evidence supporting the holographic nature of these bioenergy fields, which comes from experimental work in the area of electrographic photography. Electro Electrography or Kirlian photography is a technique whereby living objects are photographed in the presence of a high frequency, high voltage, low amperage electrical field. This technique was largely pioneered by the Russian researcher Semyon Kirlian, from whom the process has acquired its name. Kirlian's first research began in the early 1940s, at about the same time Burr was measuring electromagnetic fields around the living objects. Okay, so I think there are two footnotes or endnotes. So let me look at that and see what kind of information or additional information that we can get from these two uh, concepts here. Let me see. Ah, okay. So these notes are just more information where you can find. So information about Burr, his book on the fields of life, and then Kirlian about the Kirlian photography is the Journal of Scientific and Applied Photography. Okay, all right. So if you guys have a book and you want to dig in further, you can do that. So I think I'm not going to do the notes. You guys can do your own deep dive if you want to do that further, okay? All right, let's see, where am I? Okay, both scientists developed experimental techniques that were capable of measuring changes in the energy fields of living systems. Burr's approach utilized conventional voltmeters and revealed data in the form of microvoltage levels. Kirlian studied the same electrical fields of the body, but his electrographic techniques translated Burr's electrical measurements into the visual characteristics of the electrical corona. Burr and Kirlian found that diseases like cancer cause significant changes in the electromagnetic fields of living organisms. Burr had made this revelation by studying superficial skin measurements taken with his voltmeter. Kirlian recorded corona discharge images of the body to confirm the disease-associated energy field changes. Since Kirlian first developed his novel approach to studying the bodies of plants and animals through the use of electrophotography, numerous other investigators, including the author of this book, have confirmed the diagnostic potential inherent in electrographic recording techniques. Electrophotography, in its most basic form, is based upon observations of a phenomenon known as the corona discharge. Electrically grounded objects in high-frequency electrical fields characteristically demonstrate spark discharges between the object and the electrode generating the field. The term corona discharge arises from the observation of discharge patterns around circular objects, where the spark pattern along the edge of the object resembles the outer corona of the sun during the collapse. During an eclipse. Sorry about that. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Uh, During an eclipse. Okay. When a piece of photographic film is interposed between the object and the electrode, the spark discharge is captured on the recording emulsion. The corona is the result of electron discharge trails that represent millions of electrons streaming from the object to the photographic plate upon which an object rests. Depending upon the type of film used and the energetic characteristics of the electrical field generator, beautiful colors and spark patterns are observed in the electrographic image in what has been described as the Kirlian aura. There are numerous biophysical factors such as temperature, moisture, local microenvironment, pressure, etc., which can physically affect the final discharge. In spite of the many variables which can affect the picture, numerous investigators have succeeded in obtaining relevant biological information from the appearance of the electrical coronas photographed around human fingertips. Corona discharge patterns of human fingertips reveal significant diagnostic information pertaining to the presence of cancer, cystic fibrosis, and other diseases in the body of the individual whose finger is photographed. Even more interesting than fingertips are the beautiful discharge patterns photographed around various types of leaves, a unique phenomenon recorded by electrophotography, which is especially relevant to our discussion of bioenergetic growth templates, is the phantom leaf effect. This effect can be observed when the upper third of a leaf is cut off and destroyed. The remaining leaf fragment is then photographed by the electrographic process. Examination of the amputated leaf electrophotograph reveals a picture of an intact whole leaf. The amputated portion still appears in the photo of the leaf, even though the missing leaf fragment has been physically destroyed. Uh, and just a side note, another concept in the human realm is called the phantom limb, Limb, like Bob, B, limb. So if there's an amputation, and you see this with veterans who have, lost their leg or their arm or whatever in the war, um, they they still have feeling. They call it phantom pain, right? Phantom limb. It's the same concept here. All right, continue. Various physical explanations for the phantom have been invoked by skeptical scientists. Critics suggested that the phantom effect resulted from leaf moisture on the photographic plates. Keith Wagner, a researcher at California State University, seems to have refuted this skepticism. Elegant electrographic studies by Wagner demonstrated that the phantom portion of the leaf could still be photographed through a clear lucite block, which has been placed where the phantom was to appear. The ghost-like phantom appeared constantly. The ghost-like phantom appeared consistently, even though moisture could not pass through the plastic barrier. Clues from the phantom leaf, the etheric body as a hologram. The implication of the phantom leaf effect is that some type of organized energy field is interacting with the electrons of the corona discharge of the remaining leaf in the area of the phantom. This interaction registers as an orderly discharge pattern. The discharge pattern retains the spatial integrity and organization of the missing leaf portion. Alan Dietrich has performed phantom leaf experiments in which both sides of the phantom have been captured by photographing the amputated leaf on either side. This would be equivalent to slicing off the upper fingers of a hand and taking electrographs of the front and back of the hand. One electrograph would show phantom fingerprints, whereas the other electrograph would demonstrate phantom fingernails. The three-dimensional spatial and organization properties of such a biological energy field would seem to be holographic in nature. Even more convincing evidence to support this idea has come from recent developments in electrographic recording techniques. Here is a picture of a phantom leaf phenomenon. This is diagram 5, adapted from a photo by I. Dumitrescu. Dumitrescu. Sorry, I butchered that name. Okay, let me move the camera out a little bit so you could see the whole picture. So I guess here you could see the blueprint, if you want to call it that, or etheric field of the leaf. And I don't know what they're trying to portray here. But and the human body has it too. So your human body has an etheric field, which is this thing here, or a blueprint for the body. And then each organ and each cell has an etheric field as well. And the etheric field or blueprint has consciousness. So it is a living being, whether as a whole human body, or as a individual cells or organs. Interesting, eh? All right, let's continue. Oops, sorry about that. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's move in a little bit more. And sorry about the back and forth there. Move the camera a little bit. Okay. All right, here we go. Continuing. Studies by Dumistricu, I'm sorry, I butchered that name again, in Romania, utilizing a scanning technique based on the electrographic process. Oh, excuse me. I burped my coffee. So, excuse me. Based on the electrographic process, added a new twist to the phantom leaf effect. Dumistricu, Mr. D, maybe I should just call him Mr. D, cut a circular hole in a leaf and then photographed the leaf with his electrographic equipment. The image revealed was that of a tiny intact leaf with a smaller hole in it. See diagram 5. The smaller leaf appeared inside the area where the circular portion of the leaf had been cut away. Dimitrichus phenomenon resembles the holographic photo of the apple that was discussed earlier in the chapter. When a fragment of the apple hologram was removed and held up to laser light, a small intact apple was revealed. This is exactly what happened in Dimitrichus' experiment. A leaf appeared within a leaf. Just a side note, this is known as fractal. Fractal, fractal. Domesticus results with the phantom leaf effect would seem to confirm the holographic nature of the organizing energy field that surrounds all living systems. In metaphysical literature, this energy field that surrounds and penetrates living systems is referred to as the etheric body. It is said that the etheric body is one of many bodies contributing to the final expression of the human form. The etheric body, in all likelihood, is an energy interference pattern similar to a hologram. And just another side note, there are 4 elements or building blocks that make up this physical world here as we know it. And that is fire, water, air, and earth. Some people argue that there is a 5th element, excuse me, and that 5th element is known as ether. So that's an interesting tidbit there. Okay, continue. There is speculation that the application of the holographic model can be extended even further. Perhaps the universe itself is a gigantic cosmic hologram. And the next sentence is italicized by the author. That is to say, the universe is a tremendous energy interference pattern. By virtue of its likely holographic characteristics, every piece of the universe not only contains but also contributes to the information of the whole. The cosmic hologram is less like a holographic still photo frozen in time than it is like a holographic videotape dynamically changing from moment to moment. Let us examine the theoretical evidence of such a holographic universe. News from the world of particle physics, matter as frozen light and its implication for medicine. There is an esoteric statement that says, as above, so below. One level of meaning to this phrase is that things on a microscopic level seem to parallel or mirror events on a macroscopic level. A further interpretation is that as we come to understand ourselves more fully below, we may come to better understand the universe around us above. There is a book, just a side note here. There's a book called The Kabbalion, which talks about this principle as above, so below. And incidentally, we are currently reading it in our book club on Monday, a spiritual book club. So come join us there. Just a little quick plug, or check it out on YouTube. All right, let us examine the world from the perspective of a single cell. The DNA within the nucleus encodes the structural physical expression of the cell's activity. But the DNA is only an information manual containing instructions, but still must be acted upon by some intermediate actors in the cellular scheme of things. These actors in the cellular scenario are the enzymes, the protein body workers that carry out the many everyday biochemical tasks. The enzymes catalyze specific reactions of chemicals, either to create structure through molecular assemblies or to provide the electrical chemical fire to run the cellular engines and ultimately keep the entire system working efficiently. Enzymes are actually composed of proteins, which are themselves collections of amino acids strung together in linear array like colored beads on a thread. The various positive and negative charges on the amino acids, by virtue of electrostatic attraction and repulsion, cause the string of beads to self-assemble into a functional three-dimensional structure. At the center of this structure is found the active site or business end of this macromolecule, where the chemical reactions are catalyzed. The DNA molecule encodes and assigns the sequential arrangement of the various colored amino acids for each type of protein and its genetic structural memory. We now know that molecules are aggregations of yet tinier particles called atoms. Only within the last century has Western technology evolved to the point of being able to answer the question, what are atoms? It has now become common knowledge that atoms are further reducible to even smaller particles called electrons, neutrons, and protons. All matter is composed of infinitely different arrangements of atomic and subatomic particles, such as electrons. But what exactly is an electron? This question has caused feverish debate within the scientific community for nearly a century. Answering this fundamental question is a pivotal point in the understanding of the atom and indeed the structure of the universe. It is also a turning point in the evolution of our understanding of physics and a unique concept of complementarity. Complementarity is a concept which suggests that the world is no longer only black and white, but is made up of various shades of gray. It is a concept which accepts the peaceful coexistence of two seemingly different or even opposite properties existing simultaneously within the same object. Nowhere does complementarity find greater application and confusion than in the description of the properties of electrons. In the early 20th century, scientists noted that in certain experiments, electrons appeared to behave as tiny billiard balls. They would careen off each other in collisions similar to balls colluding on a pool table. To the mechanistic thinking of the Newtonian physicist, this was a predictable pattern of particle behavior. The confusion began to set in when other experiments demonstrated properties suggested that electrons behaved more like waves of light. The famous example of the electron's odd wave-like behavior is the double slit experiment. The results of this experiment demonstrated that a single electron appeared to pass through two holes simultaneously. This feat was quite unprecedented for the tiny billiard ball, which the electron was supposed to represent. Yet other tests showed that if one aimed two beams of electrons at each other, they did indeed bounce off each other like tiny billiard balls. Waves, but not particles, can pass through two windows simultaneously. So, what then are electrons, which can seemingly do both? It appears that electrons display the complementary behaviors of both waves and particles simultaneously. Two mutually exclusive properties of energy and matter coexist within a single electron. This is the true essence of the principle of complementarity. The electron is neither pure particle nor pure energy. It displays elements of both. Some physicists have resolved the dilemma by conceptualizing electrons to be wave packets. The wave-particle duality of subatomic particles like electrons is a reflection of the energy-matter relationship first elaborated upon by Albert Einstein with his famous E equals mc squared in the early 1900s. Matter and energy are now known to be interchangeable and interconvertible. And this next sentence is italicized by the author. This means that one can not only convert matter into energy, but it should be possible to convert energy into matter. Just a side note, sort of like water, isn't it? You can convert water into liquid to drink, or ice, right? Little cubes, or gas, right? Where it evaporates. So interesting, eh? All right, continue. Although physicists have not yet accomplished this feat artificially in their laboratories, this event has actually been observed and captured in the photographic records of cloud chambers in experimental nuclear facilities. A cosmic ray, a highly energetic photon of light, when passing in the vicinity of a heavy atomic nucleus, leaves its imprint on film as it spontaneously becomes a particle antiparticle pair. The photon changes from to become, the photon changes form to become two mirror image particles. Literally, energy becomes matter. This is the reverse of what happens when matter and antimatter meet and annihilate each other, releasing tremendous amounts of energy. This interconversion of light into matter and vice versa would seem curious behavior, rather like apples becoming oranges and then changing back to apples. But are we really seeing the interconversion of two wholly different substances? Is it possible that we are observing an event more analogous to the change of state of some primary universal substance, i.e., solid ice vaporized into steam, or liquid condensed steam, water frozen back into ice? This interpretation gives new light to the wave particle nature of particles like electrons. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't move my book. Let's do that paragraph again. I think that's kind of interesting. This interconversion of light into matter and vice versa would seem curious behavior, rather like apples becoming oranges and then changing back to apples. But are we really seeing the interconversion of two wholly different substances? Is it possible that we are observing an event more analogous to the change of state of some primary universal substance, i.e., solid ice vaporized into steam, or liquid condensed steam, which is water, frozen back into ice? This interpretation gives new light to the wave particle nature of particles like electrons. Consider the example of the high energy photon becoming two particles. At the point of conversion from energy to matter, the photon, a quantum of electromagnetic energy or light, slows down to become a particle. In doing so, it attains some of the properties attributable to solids, i.e., mass, and yet still retains some of its wave-like properties. These wave-like properties are hidden except in certain experiments where beams of electrons are treated like beams of photons, as in an electron microscope. In a simplistic sense, a packet of light has been slowed down and frozen. This particle of frozen light might be viewed as a miniature energy interference pattern or a microcosmic energy field occupying an infinitesimal space. And so we see how the macroscopic illusion of solidity melts away when one delves into the subatomic world of particle physics. Add to this realization that the fact that the atom is made up of mostly of empty space. The minute particles that do fill this void are, in fact, frozen packets of light. When viewed from the microcosmic level, all matter is frozen light, italicized included by the author. And let's look at an illustration here. This is diagram 6, birth of matter from energy. And I'm just going to move the camera out a little bit so you guys can see the whole picture. All right, here. Okay. So let's take a look here. So we got an electron here and positron here. This is high energy photon, which is also known as cosmic ray. And this is the energy that gives, it's like gas to a fuel, right? For the car, in a sense. So this comes down, this is electron and positron spiraling in opposite directions in a magnetic field. So this cosmic ray, and it's interesting because you hear in esoteric studies, you hear, what do they call them? Ascended masters like Jesus, also known as Yeshua, um, ascended masters like Mary and the Buddha, Saint Germain, people or beings like that. They have the cosmic ray. You hear them talk about that a lot. And so they are the fuel or the energy or the life force, if you will, right? For the motion, birth of energy, birth of matter from energy. Ah, it's interesting, eh? All right, let's continue. Let me move the camera in a little bit here. This is a little, just a tad too technical for my taste. I don't know about you. Um, I might see if I can find some interesting YouTube. I'll put in the link in the description box below about some of the concepts that we talked about. For me personally, I always like to very what was I gonna say? Complicated concepts. I like it in cartoon form so I can understand it. Sometimes I say to people, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Do drawings. I like cartoons and drawings. Anyways, all right, that's just me. All right, continue. Matter is composed of highly complex, infinitely orchestrated energy fields. The combinations are governed by various laws of nature, which physics has sought to discover. The term fields within fields has been appropriately applied to this theoretical model. If we apply this to living systems, the cellular matrix of the physical body can be seen as a complex energetic interference pattern interpenetrated by the organizing bioenergetic field of the etheric body. This understanding of matter as a specialized energy field is a revolution in thought and is the central theme and basis for discussion throughout the rest of his book. It is also the departure point from conventional Newtonian medical approaches to what I call the Einsteinian paradigm of healing, the practical application of this clearer understanding of matter to human illness. Vibrational medicine is a systems approach based on the Estinian paradigm of healing. And this next sentence is italicized by the author. Vibrational medicine attempts to interface with primary subtle energetic fields that underline and contribute to the functional expression of the physical body. Whereas the Newtonian pharmacokinetic approach deals primarily with molecular interactions, such as enzymes and receptors, this new energetic model will allow doctors to conceptualize systems of healing that work at a more primary, subtle energetic level. Wow. Okay. We will stop here for now. And I hope you enjoyed that. And let me know what you think about what we read today and what your thoughts are. It'll be very interesting to know. And if you find any videos on YouTube that can explain some of the concepts more simply with cartoons or graphics, that would be great too. Okay, so we'll see you next time for our next book club. And I hope you guys all have a great day, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you guys are. And we'll see you again. Bye bye now.